Queen Arathia of Valora stood on the highest balcony of her shining palace, looking out at the endless silver horizon of her world. Valora was a place of light, harmony, and ancient wisdom. A planet where the sky glowed softly even at night, and the ground sparkled with tiny crystals that responded to emotion. It was a beautiful kingdom, admired across many star systems, and it had been peaceful for thousands of years. But none of its beauty could calm the fear growing inside the queen's heart. She had ruled Valora with grace and fairness, and her people trusted her completely. Yet there was one thing she had failed to give her world a future ruler. Her only daughter, Princess Leora, was the rightful heir. Leora was kind, intelligent, and deeply loved by the people. But she carried a rare genetic condition that made it impossible for her to have children. On Valora, the royal bloodline was not just a tradition. It was believed to be tied to the balance of the planet itself. Ancient teachings said that when the royal line ended, the energy of Valora would slowly weaken. For many years, Queen Arathia searched for a cure. She invited the wisest healers, the most talented scientists, and even the mystical energy readers trained to understand life forces. Everyone tried, but none succeeded. Leora remained childless, and the queen's hope grew smaller with each passing year. Princess Leora, gentle and quiet, tried to hide her sadness. She would spend hours in the palace gardens, touching the petals of glowing flowers that responded to her mood. Sometimes, when she felt especially lonely, the flowers around her dimmed, as if sharing her sorrow. She wished she could make her mother proud. She wished she could give Valora what it needed, but she could not change her fate. She accepted her condition, but the queen could not. One evening, when the suns of Valora were setting and the sky was painted with dark pink light, the queen sat alone in the ancient Hall of Memory. This hall was filled with stone tablets that held old prophecies and messages left by the ancestors. She came here often, hoping to find guidance. Her eyes drifted over the carved symbols until she reached one tablet she had never taken seriously before. It spoke of a strange and uncertain idea. Life continues where species meet. A union beyond the boundaries of one world will bring new light to the blood of Valora. Queen Arathia touched the tablet, tracing the symbols slowly. It sounded like a myth, a story meant for children. Valorians had never married outside their own kind. The idea of mixing their life force with another species was almost unthinkable. Their traditions were strict, and for thousands of years, they followed them carefully. Yet something about the words stayed with her. Life continues where species meet. It felt like a whisper of hope. The next day, she called the highest council of Valora to discuss what she had read. The council members were shocked. Some argued that the prophecy was too vague. Others insisted it was only symbolic. A few even suggested that the queen's worry was clouding her judgment. But the queen listened patiently. She had heard all these arguments before, yet none of them offered a real solution. Tradition was important, yes, but the survival of the kingdom was more important than any tradition. After the meeting, the queen returned to her private chambers. She stood in front of her giant star chart, tracing the dots of nearby worlds. But her attention kept drifting toward the small blue planet located in the corner of the chart, a planet called Earth. She had studied Earth before. Humans were interesting creatures, emotional and unpredictable, and they had a remarkable ability to adapt. They survived storms, wars, and changes in nature. Their DNA showed unusual flexibility compared to many other species. If the prophecy was true, if life could continue when two species met, perhaps humans were the key. The queen spent several nights studying Earth. She watched recordings of human behavior, read their scientific achievements, listened to their music, and learned about their families. Humans valued kindness, connection, and emotion. They were far from perfect, but they had a strength she respected, and more importantly, she sensed something unusual in the patterns of Earth's energy field. It pulsed in a way that reminded her of Valora. One night, after many sleepless hours, Queen Arathia made a decision that would change the history of two worlds. She would break tradition. She would go to Earth herself, in secret, and search for a human who could be a good match for Princess Leora. Not just any human, but one with a heart strong enough to embrace a world beyond their own, and gentle enough to love her daughter. When she told Leora her plan, the princess was stunned. "Mother, this is too dangerous," Leora whispered. "Earth is very different from humans would never understand." The queen placed her hands softly on Leora's shoulders. "My child, our world needs hope. I will not force you into anything, but I must search for answers. And if the prophecy is true, perhaps your happiness lies where we least expect it." Leora's eyes filled with emotion. She didn't want her mother to take such a risk, but she also knew how much her mother loved her. She nodded gently. "If it helps our people, if it helps you, then go, but please be careful." The queen smiled softly, though her heart was heavy. She prepared a small starship, cloaked with technology that made it invisible to human eyes. She wrapped herself in a shape-shifting suit that allowed her to look human. She carried only a small crystal from Valora crystal that glowed when it sensed the right energy. If she met the right human, the crystal would recognize it. Her journey to Earth took only a few hours through a hidden star path used by advanced civilizations. She arrived at night, landing quietly in a forest far from human cities. The world smelled different, fresh and earthy, and the wind on her face felt gentle and warm. For a moment, she simply stood there, listening to the sounds of insects and distant water. Earth was simpler than Valora, but it held a comforting charm. The next morning, she began her search. She walked through small towns, crowded markets, and quiet parks, carefully observing the humans around her. Some were kind, some were rude, some were curious, and some were tired. But none felt right. None made the crystal react. Days passed. Then weeks. The queen was beginning to worry. She had made a mistake. Maybe the prophecy had no meaning. Maybe she had left Valora for nothing. She started to feel the weight of disappointment, and she wondered how she would face Leora if she returned empty-handed. But one evening, as she walked past a small research building near a university, she sensed something gentle, something pure. It was like a soft wave of warmth passing through her. She stopped and looked toward the building. Through a window, she saw a man sitting alone, surrounded by screens filled with star patterns. He looked focused but peaceful, as if he found comfort in studying the skies. He had no idea she was watching him, but the queen felt instantly drawn to his calm nature. Slowly, she reached into her cloak and pulled out the small Valorian crystal. It began to glow. Queen Arathia stood outside the small research building, watching the human man through the window. She had spent weeks searching, walking through busy cities and quiet towns, meeting hundreds of people, feeling the rise and fall of hope inside her. Yet none of them had made the Valorian crystal bright. None of them felt like the person the prophecy had spoken about. She had started to believe she had misunderstood everything. But now, for the first time since she arrived on Earth, the crystal glowed with soft silver light. The man sitting inside looked ordinary at first glance. His brown hair was messy, his shirt slightly wrinkled, and he was surrounded by stacks of papers and glowing computer screens filled with patterns of stars. But there was something gentle about his presence, something calm and sincere, something that made the queen's heart settle after many restless nights. His name was Elias Carter. She read it from a badge clipped to his jacket. Elias had no idea that a queen from another world was watching him. He sat at his desk with quiet focus, studying signals from distant parts of the universe. Most people would have ignored such faint signals. But Elias always believed there was life beyond Earth. Not dangerous life, not frightening life, just different life. Life that might want to communicate, share knowledge, or simply exist peacefully somewhere in the wide universe. The queen stepped closer and placed her hand lightly on the window. The crystal in her palm glowed brighter, as if greeting Elias even before she spoke to him. She felt a strange mix of emotions: relief that she had finally found someone, nervousness about approaching him, and curiosity about how he would react. Humans were unpredictable. Some were welcoming, some fearful, some doubtful. But the prophecy had led her here, and she trusted its guidance. Inside the building, Elias suddenly frowned. A small beeping sound came from one of his machines. He checked the numbers, then rubbed his eyes. Another signal, he murmured to himself. But this one feels different. Queen Arathia smiled softly. He had sensed her presence, even if he did not realize it yet. Taking a deep breath, she walked to the door and gently knocked. Elias looked up, surprised. Hardly anyone visited him this late at night. He stood and walked to the door, opening it cautiously. "Yes?" he asked politely, though his eyes showed curiosity. The queen adjusted her human disguise, a soft, elegant face with calm eyes. "I am sorry to disturb you," she said gently. "May I speak with you for a moment?" Elias hesitated but nodded. "Of course. Is everything all right?" "Yes," she said. "Everything is fine. I just need your help." He stepped aside, inviting her in. "Please, come in. My name is Elias." She smiled. "I know." Elias blinked. "You know," the queen realized her mistake. She quickly added, "I saw your name on your badge." "Oh," Elias laughed lightly, feeling relieved. "Right, that makes sense." Arathia looked around the room. It was cluttered but warm, filled with maps of star systems, notebooks full of equations, and photographs of galaxies. She felt strangely comfortable here, as if the room welcomed her. Elias gestured to a chair, but she remained standing. "I hope this is not too strange," Arathia said carefully. "I have come from very far away. I am searching for someone with a pure heart and a curious mind. Someone who listens to the universe rather than fears it." Elias sat on the edge of his desk, watching her closely. "Are you a researcher?" "In a way," she replied. He smiled kindly. "Well, you're describing a scientist, yes? Many of us listen to the universe." She shook her head gently. "Not quite. You do more than listen. You feel it." Elias felt a tiny shiver run through him. Her words were unusual, almost poetic. "How do you know that?" Instead of answering, she slowly opened her palm and showed him the glowing crystal. Elias gasped softly. "Is that some kind of technology?" he whispered. The queen looked into his eyes. "Elias," she said softly, "what I am about to tell you may sound impossible, but please trust that I mean no harm." Elias felt his breath catch. He nodded slowly. Something inside him told him she wasn't dangerous. Arathia continued, "I am not from Earth. I come from a world called Valora, many light years away. I am here because my people face a great struggle. And you? You might be the key to helping us. For several seconds, Elias simply stared at her. His mind tried to reject her words, but something in her calm expression, something in the glowing crystal, something in the unusual warmth he felt in her presence, none of it felt like a lie. You're from another planet, he whispered. Double quotes. Yes. And you came here to find me? Yes. Elias sat down slowly, absorbing everything. If anyone else had said such a thing, he would have politely smiled and asked them to leave. But she wasn't like anyone else. Her presence felt otherworldly yet peaceful. The crystal's glow was unlike anything he had ever seen. And deep down, he always believed that Earth was not alone in the universe. He looked up at her. Why me? Queen Arathia took a step closer. Because you are gentle. Because your heart is open. Because you study the universe with curiosity, not fear. And because your energy matches something my world desperately needs. Elias felt his heartbeat quicken. What does your world need? She hesitated. The truth was delicate, and she did not want to overwhelm him, but he deserved honesty. My daughter, she said softly. She is the heir to my kingdom, but she cannot have children. Without an heir, our planet's balance may weaken. Our traditions forbid us from joining with other species, but I must look beyond tradition. I must look toward hope. Elias listened quietly, his eyes full of empathy. I'm very sorry for your daughter. That must be painful for both of you. It is, the queen whispered. But when I found you, the crystal responded, it chooses only those who are connected to the right future. Elias brushed his fingers through his hair, trying to process everything. So, you're saying I'm supposed to help your daughter? How? I'm just a scientist. Not just a scientist, she corrected softly. You are someone with kindness and depth, someone capable of understanding a heart different from your own. She paused, then added carefully, I believe you, and my daughter are meant to meet. Elias stared at her, startled. Meet? You mean, personally? Yes. Elias stood up and walked slowly across the room, trying to calm his racing thoughts. Queen Arathia, this is a lot to take in. You're asking me to go from studying the universe to connecting with someone from another world. I know, she said gently, and I do not expect you to decide anything right now. I only ask that you meet her. If you feel no connection, I will leave. I will not force you into anything. But if the prophecy is right, your meeting may bring hope to both our worlds. He turned to face her again. Her expression was filled with sincerity, hope, and something almost motherly. He felt no danger from her, only truth. How will I meet her? Elias asked quietly. I will bring her here, the queen said, but only if you agree. Elias looked at the glowing crystal again. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Something inside him, a small spark he had carried since childhood, awakened, a sense of destiny, of wonder. Finally, he nodded. I will meet her. The queen smiled, filled with relief. Thank you, Elias. You do not know how much this means. When will she come? He asked. Soon, the queen replied. But first, I must prepare her for meeting someone from Earth. She has lived only on Val. She needs time. Elias nodded. Part of him was nervous. Another part was excited, and a small part felt strangely certain that this moment was meant to happen. As the queen prepared to leave, Elias called softly, Queen Arathia. She turned. Yes. Will your daughter be safe here? The queen's eyes softened. With you? Yes, I believe she will be. She stepped outside into the cool night air. The silver crystal dimmed as she walked away, but her heart felt lighter. For the first time in many years, she carried hope back toward the stars. Princess Leora stood at the edge of the glowing lake in Valora, her reflection floating gently on the crystal blue surface. She had always found peace here. The water responded to emotions, showing tiny ripples of light whenever someone felt strong feelings. Tonight, the lake glowed softly around her feet, reflecting her nervous heart. She had been waiting for her mother's return from Earth. Each day felt longer than the last. She tried to stay calm, tried to believe everything would be fine, but a part of her worried. Earth was far unfamiliar, and full of unknowns. What if her mother had been mistaken? What if the prophecy meant nothing? What if no human could accept her? When Queen Arathia finally returned, Leora rushed into her arms. The queen held her tightly, comforted by her daughter's warm presence. For a moment, they simply breathed together, relieved to be reunited. Then the queen took Leora's hands gently. My child, I found someone. Leora felt her heartbeat quicken. A human? Yes, the queen said softly. His name is Elias Carter. He is kind. He studies the universe with wonder, and the crystal chose him. Leora's eyes widened. She had always heard stories of the crystal's power, but she never imagined it would guide her life so directly. Mother, what does that mean for me? It means, the queen said with calm certainty, that you should meet him. Nothing more. No pressure. No expectations. Just meet him. Leora looked down, unsure if she was ready. For her whole life, she had lived on Valora, surrounded by her people, her traditions, her familiar ways. Humans were different. Their world was loud, unpredictable, full of emotions that burst from them like storms. She admired them from afar, but feared meeting one face to face. Seeing her hesitation, the queen placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You are not alone, she whispered, and you have more courage than you know. Leora took a deep breath and nodded. I will meet him. Those words started a journey she never expected. Over the next few days, The queen prepared her for the visit to Earth. Leora practiced wearing her human disguise, a simple form that allowed her to blend in without drawing attention. She studied basic human customs, learning how to shake hands, how to greet people, and how to hide her natural glow, which often appeared when she felt emotional. The queen reminded her again and again that she didn't need to achieve perfection. She only needed to be herself. When the day arrived, Leora felt both excited and nervous. The queen guided her to a small, shimmering ship hidden inside a quiet grove. The ship hummed softly, sensing its passengers' emotions. Leora sat beside her mother, holding the edges of her seat tightly. "Mother, what if he doesn't like me?" she whispered. The queen smiled warmly. "My dear, if he does not feel a connection, that is all right. You are meeting him to see if you two understand each other. Nothing more." Leora nodded, though her heart still fluttered like delicate wings. Their ship lifted gently into the sky, slipping into the star path that connected distant worlds. The journey felt like floating through a long tunnel of soft lights. Leora watched the stars pass, wondering what Elias would be like. Would he be gentle? Would he be patient? Would he be frightened? When they reached Earth, night had just fallen. The ship landed quietly in a forest clearing, hidden away from human eyes. Leora stepped out and felt Earth's air against her face. It smelled different from Valora, fresh, earthy, full of simple life. She looked around with wonder. Trees on Valora glowed faintly, but Earth's trees were dark silhouettes against the starry sky. She found it beautiful in its own calm way. The queen touched her arm. "Are you ready?" Leora swallowed. "Yes." Together, they walked toward the research building where Elias waited. Leora felt her heart pounding so loudly she worried he could hear it from inside. As they neared the door, the queen paused and turned to her daughter. "Remember," she said softly, "you are meeting a human, not a test. Be calm, be honest. He has a gentle soul." Leora nodded slowly. Inside, Elias had been pacing for the past 20 minutes. He had tried reading, drinking tea, even organizing his desk. But his mind kept returning to one thought. He was about to meet someone from another world. Not just anyone, an alien princess. The idea felt unreal, yet he wasn't afraid. Something about Queen Arathia's presence had made him trust her completely. When the door knocked softly, he froze for a second, then hurried to open it. There she stood, Princess Lee, disguised as a human but still carrying a quiet glow in her eyes, looked at him with gentle uncertainty. Her beauty wasn't loud or overwhelming, it was soft, like sunlight filtering through morning mist. Her posture was shy but graceful, and Elias could feel the calm energy she carried with her. Behind her stood Queen Arathia, watching silently. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then Elias smiled warmly and stepped aside. "Please come in." Leora entered slowly, her eyes scanning the small room with curiosity. Everything felt so unfamiliar, the humming computers, the stacks of papers, the maps of constellations pinned to the walls. Yet she also felt a strange comfort, as if the space reflected a gentle heart. Elias approached her carefully. "I'm Elias," he said quietly. Leora nodded. "I know," she whispered. "My mother told me about you." Elias sensed her nervousness and softened his voice even more. "I'm grateful you came. I know this must be difficult." Leora met his eyes for the first time. "It is new, but new is not bad." Her voice was soft, musical, almost like a breeze. Elias smiled. "Would you like to sit down?" She nodded, sitting gently on the small sofa. The queen watched with calm pride. Elias decided to speak honestly. "I want you to know, I don't expect anything. I'm not here for a duty or a title. I just want to understand you." Leora felt something loosen inside her. She had feared judgment or pressure, but Elias's words soothed her. "Thank you," she said softly. "I only want to understand you too." They talked slowly at first, asking simple questions. Leora asked about Earth's seasons. Elias asked about Valora's glowing lakes. Leora asked why humans smiled so much. Elias laughed softly and explained that smiles were a simple way to show warmth. When she tried smiling herself, it looked shy but sincere, making Elias smile even wider. The queen watched from a corner, letting the two speak naturally. She could see something gentle, unfolding, a quiet understanding, a peaceful curiosity. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was a beginning. After a while, Elias asked, "Is Earth overwhelming for you?" Leora shook her head lightly. "No, it is quieter than I expected. Your world feels simple, warm. I like it." Elias looked relieved. "I'm glad." Then Leora hesitated before asking softly, "Do you believe the prophecy?" Elias took a deep breath. "I believe," he said slowly, "that things happen for a reason. I believe your mother found me for a reason, and I believe meeting you is the first step to understanding that reason." Leora felt a gentle warmth bloom in her chest. It wasn't romantic, not yet. It was something deeper, a feeling of safety. As the night grew darker, their conversation grew easier. They laughed softly at small misunderstandings. They compared their worlds with childlike wonder. They discovered they shared a love for stars. Leora, because Valora's sky sang with light. Elias, because Earth's sky gave him dreams. By the time the queen softly announced it was time to leave, neither of them wanted the moment to end. Leora stood, feeling the surprising ache of saying goodbye. "Elias," she said, almost whispering, "may we meet again?" Elias smiled with gentle certainty. "Yes, I would like that very much. When Leora and the queen stepped back into the night, the young princess felt something new inside, her a sense of hope she had not felt in years. For the first time, the future did not feel frightening, it felt possible. Leora could hardly sleep that night. Her mind kept returning to Elias the human with gentle eyes and quiet patience. She lay on her bed in Valora's palace, the soft glow of the walls pulsing faintly as if responding to her thoughts. The feeling was strange, almost like butterflies in her chest, but she didn't try to understand it. She only let it be, because for the first time in her life, she felt something beyond fear or duty. She felt possibility. Queen Arathia, meanwhile, paced quietly in her private chambers. She could sense the gentle connection forming between her daughter and Elias. It was subtle, almost invisible, but she recognized it. In Valorian culture, small gestures and energy signs revealed emotion far more than words ever could. The queen had seen it in her daughter's eyes, the soft rise and fall of her aura, the way her hands lingered slightly longer on simple objects. And she had seen it in Elias, whose presence now seemed to resonate softly even across the distance of the ship's path. It was a good beginning, but the queen knew the real challenge lay ahead. The union they were preparing for was unlike anything Valora had ever faced. It was not only about love or companionship, it was about the survival of their world. And survival demanded more than curiosity. It demanded courage, understanding, and adaptability. In the following weeks, the queen guided Leora in preparation for a deeper relationship with Elias. They practiced the customs of Earth more thoroughly, not to deceive but to help Leora feel comfortable in a place so different from home. She learned to walk along human streets without glowing too brightly, to speak softly without fear, and to listen as much as she spoke. She also learned small gestures, holding a cup, offering a hand, bowing slightly, things humans might notice more than they realized. Meanwhile, the queen contacted Ilias, arranging a return visit. When the day came, Leora felt both excitement and nervousness. She had grown to understand the human world a little better, yet meeting him again felt like stepping into a dream. The queen accompanied her again, not as a chaperone but as a silent guardian, sensing the energy of the situation and ready to intervene only if necessary. When Elias saw Leora arrive, he could not hide his delight. There was no need for words, his smile and gentle bow conveyed everything. Leora returned it nervously at first, then gradually relaxed as they walked together in a small park nearby. They shared stories about their worlds, laughing at small differences and marveling at small similarities. Leora learned that humans celebrated even small moments with joy, while Valorians often waited for grand occasions. Elias learned that Valorians could sense emotions in ways humans could not, a talent that fascinated him. Over time, their friendship deepened. It was slow and natural, built on understanding and shared curiosity. Leora showed him the subtle beauty of Valorian thought, the ways her people valued balance, kindness, and energy in every living thing. Elias shared his passion for Earth, his fascination with the stars, and his quiet determination to make the world better through small, thoughtful actions. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Leora felt a strange sensation in her body, like warmth flowing through her entire being. She stopped walking and looked down at her hands. The queen noticed immediately and approached her. "What is it, my child?" the queen asked gently. Leora shook her head, unsure how to explain. I don't know. It feels like life. Something new inside me." The queen's eyes widened. She examined her daughter carefully, using her knowledge of Valorian energy and medicine. After a few moments, she nodded slowly. "It is possible. You may be pregnant." Leora gasped softly, the words echoing in her mind. She had never imagined this could happen. Not only was she now connected to a human, something previously forbidden by Valorian law, but the prophecy might truly be unfolding. A child could exist, a new life that might carry the energy of both worlds. Elias was informed gently, with care. When he learned the news, he could hardly believe it. A mixture of joy, wonder, and responsibility filled him. He understood the importance of this union, not only for Leora and for him but for Valora itself. He felt a quiet determination to do everything he could to protect both his new family and the children growing within Leora. Preparing for the pregnancy was not simple. Valorian pregnancies were delicate even under normal circumstances, and combining Valorian and human life was uncharted territory. Healers from Valora worked carefully alongside Earth doctors, blending knowledge from both worlds. Every precaution was taken to ensure Leora's safety and the children's well-being. During this time, Leora experienced both joy and uncertainty. She felt the first tiny movements of life inside her, and every flutter of energy brought wonder and hope. But she also felt nervous. What if something went wrong? What if the children were not what anyone expected? Elias stayed by her side constantly, providing support, comfort, and laughter when needed. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. It was no longer only curiosity or duty. It became deep trust, a quiet understanding that crossed the boundaries of species. Leora learned that Elias had a rare gift, patience. He did not push, he did not demand, he only shared and guided. And Elias learned from Leora the meaning of balance, of energy, and of life lived in harmony. As the pregnancy progressed, the queen monitored carefully. She could feel the children's energy already unlike anything Valora had recorded. Their aura was dual, carrying the strength of Valorian light and the warmth of human spirit. It was both delicate and powerful, promising a new beginning for the royal line. Finally, after months of preparation, the moment arrived. Leora gave birth in a chamber that blended Valorian technology with Earth comforts. Elias stayed at her side, holding her hand gently, whispering words of encouragement. The queen observed silently, her heart pounding with awe and hope. When the first cries echoed softly in the room, Leora's eyes filled with tears. She looked at her daughter, Astra, with luminous Valorian eyes and a gentle, calm presence. Then she looked at her son Callan with unmistakable human warmth and intelligence shining in his gaze. Both children were alive, healthy, and beautiful in ways no one could have imagined. Elias held their son carefully, marveling at the soft rise and fall of his tiny chest. Leora cradled her daughter with gentle pride. The room felt quiet yet full of energy, as if the universe itself paused to witness this first moment of life between two worlds. The queen approached, her breath catching as she took in the sight of the children. She felt a wave of emotion unlike anything she had ever experienced. They were more than heirs, they were living proof that the prophecy had not been wrong. They were the bridge between Valora and Earth, the continuation of life in a new, unimaginable way. For several moments, the queen simply stood frozen, staring at her grandchildren. Their presence radiated energy that no words could describe. The soft glow from Astra's eyes and the warmth in Callan's gaze intertwined, filling the chamber with light and hope. The queen finally spoke, her voice soft and filled with wonder. They are perfect. They carry both our worlds. They are the future. Leora smiled, tears falling freely. They are ours, and they are safe. Elias nodded, holding both children carefully, feeling their energy pulse with life and promise. I never imagined this, but I will protect them. I promise. In that quiet chamber, the three generations shared a moment that was almost sacred. Queen, daughter, human, and children together. They represented not only hope, but the possibility of harmony between worlds. The queen finally stepped back, her mind racing with thoughts of the future. Valora would never be the same. Earth would now share a bond with her world. The laws, the traditions, the rules all would need to be reconsidered. But in that moment, she felt only awe, pride, and deep, enduring love. And for the first time in her long reign, Queen Arathia truly understood the meaning of the prophecy. Life does indeed continue where species meet, and the most unexpected unions can bring light to worlds that once feared the end. Queen Arathia stood at the threshold of the chamber where her daughter held the newborn twins. Astra's Valorian eyes shimmered like morning stars, while Callan's human warmth radiated quietly, filling the space with light and hope. The queen's breath caught as she stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. She had seen many wonders in her long reign, but nothing prepared her for this, the sight of her grandchildren, living, breathing, perfect in ways she had never imagined. For a moment she could not move. She simply stared. The children's energy pulsed in harmony, blending the delicate light of Valora with the soft, steady warmth of Earth. It was unlike anything she had seen in her lifetime. Every rule, every law, every tradition she had followed and upheld suddenly seemed small in comparison to the magnitude of this moment. She finally stepped closer, lowering herself to the floor to be at the children's level. Astra opened her tiny eyes, and a soft glow spread across her features, as if she recognized her grandmother immediately. Callan reached out instinctively, grasping gently at the air, and his warmth brushed against Queen Arathia's hands. She felt an electric connection, a bridge of life that connected Valora and Earth in ways words could not describe. Tears sprang to her eyes. She had spent years worrying about the survival of her kingdom, about the weakening of the royal bloodline, about the traditions that had once guided her. But now, seeing these children, she understood that life did not always follow rules or expectations. Life created new paths, new possibilities, and sometimes, the most extraordinary miracles came from the most unlikely places. Leora and Elias stood together nearby, watching the queen's reaction. Leora's heart swelled with pride and relief. She had carried these children through uncertainty, through fear, and now they were here, alive and radiant. She reached out to hold her mother's hand. "Mother, are you all right?" she asked softly. The queen blinked, her voice catching. I have never seen anything like this. They carry both worlds. They are the future, but they are more than that. They are hope. They are proof that we can overcome what we once feared impossible." Elias, standing beside Leora, nodded quietly. "I promise, Your Majesty, I will do everything I can to protect them, to help them grow, learn, and understand both worlds. They are a bridge, and I will not let them fall." The queen studied him carefully. She had observed humans for years, and she had learned to recognize strength and kindness when she saw it. Elias's words, his steady gaze, the way he stood protectively and yet respectfully, everything about him, reassured her. She realized that her daughter had chosen someone truly worthy, someone who would honor both Valora and Earth, someone who could help raise children that might one day bring harmony between worlds. For several minutes, the room was silent, except for the soft breathing of the twins and the gentle hum of Valorian technology monitoring their health. The queen finally spoke again, her voice soft but firm. These children, they are more than heirs. They are the promise of a new era. Valora will need to embrace change. We will need to rethink our traditions. But as long as they are safe, and as long as they are loved, the kingdom will endure and thrive. Leora smiled, squeezing her mother's hand. Mother, they are ours. And together, we will help them grow. They will learn from both of us, from both worlds. They will carry our hopes, but they will also have their own choices. The queen nodded slowly, still taking in the miraculous sight before her. She realized that Valora's history was changing in this very room. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was also bright. She felt a deep sense of relief. For centuries, the royal family had clung to rigid rules, fearing the unknown. Now, she understood that the unknown could be beautiful, nurturing, and full of promise. The children stirred, and Astra opened her eyes wide, glowing slightly brighter than before. Callan reached for his mother's hand, making a soft cooing sound. The queen felt a warmth in her chest unlike anything she had ever experienced. She knelt and extended her hand to the twins, and they responded instinctively, their tiny energy pulses connecting with hers. The feeling was overwhelming. She had expected admiration or duty, but what she felt was far stronger. Pure love. Unconditional and unmeasured. Mother, Leora said softly, you can touch them now. You can be part of this too. Arathia nodded, bending closer to feel their warmth and see the subtle pulses of light that marked them as Valorian and human. She marveled at the perfection of this union. The children were alive in ways she had hoped for, but never truly imagined. And she realized something else: her heart, too, was changing. She had once feared that mixing with another species would weaken the royal line. Now she understood that the children carried not only strength but harmony, blending two worlds in a way that could sustain Valora for centuries. She looked at Elias, then at Leora, then back at the children. You have done something extraordinary, she said softly. You have given us hope beyond anything we could have dreamed. Elias looked at her, eyes shining with quiet determination. It was not just me. It was all of us, together, and it will continue to be together. We will learn from each other, guide them, and help them grow. They are our future, yes, but they are also their own beings. We will honor that. The queen nodded again, feeling the weight of responsibility lighten slightly. She knew challenges would come. There would be Valorian elders who questioned the choice, humans who could not understand, and dangers that neither world had yet imagined. But in that moment, none of it mattered. What mattered was the presence of life, love, and hope in the room. For hours, the family stayed together, learning the subtle rhythms of the twins' energy. The queen observed how they reacted to her touch, how they responded to Leora's voice, how Ilias's calm presence seemed to ground them. Every movement, every tiny coo or flutter of light, was a reminder that life was resilient and miraculous. That night, as the children finally drifted into a peaceful sleep, the queen sat quietly with Leora and Elias, reflecting on what had just occurred. She realized that the prophecy had not just been about the survival of Velarit, had been about understanding, courage, and love. Life continued, not through rigid rules, but through connection, trust, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. I have seen many wonders, she said softly, but this surpasses all. The children are a gift, yes, but they are also a lesson. We must learn to embrace change, to respect differences, and to open our hearts fully. Only then will Valora truly thrive. Leora leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I understand now, mother, and I feel ready for the future. We will face it together. Elias nodded, his hand resting gently on the back of one of the twins. Together, he repeated. Queen. Arathia smiled, a warmth spreading through her being that she had not felt in decades. She looked once more at Astra and Callan, realizing that these children were not only heirs, they were symbols of unity, of possibility, of harmony between worlds. Their very existence challenged fear, defied doubt, and illuminated the way forward. She understood that life was unpredictable. It was full of surprises, challenges, and miracles. And now, the greatest miracle of all stood before her, cradled in the arms of love and hope. For the first time in centuries, the queen allowed herself to breathe completely, knowing that Valora's future was not only safe, but filled with potential beyond imagination. The prophecy had come true, not in a way she had expected, but in a way far more beautiful and meaningful than she could have ever dreamed. The night settled quietly over Valora, the stars outside shining softly. The children slept, their energy pulsing gently in harmony with the world around them. The queen, her daughter, and Elias sat together in peace, knowing that the bonds they had forged were unbreakable. They had witnessed the beginning of a new era, time when love, courage, and trust bridged worlds, and when the next generation carried with them the promise of unity and hope. And in that quiet moment, Queen Arathia understood that she had seen the future bright, radiant, and alive in the faces of her grandchildren.